I know that I've gotten really upset, right, with the Catholic Church, because I I don't I don't quite understand um why they have been allowed to get away with what they get away with. Now, clearly, there's nothing you can do about it, okay? But what I mean is, why kings allowed? Because they're liars. I guess maybe I could understand it when nobody was able to read the Bible, that the papacy, because they claim supremacy, yeah, no, that God doesn't see them in any light whatsoever. Don't care. They came along and said, no, Peter passed down the church to us. No, Peter had no contact with the Vatican. He was dead before they. Just bullshit. Total. I just call bullshit on all of their bullshit. So I guess maybe when the Bible was not in English, people would have believed their BS. The fact that they've continued to believe their BS is concerning. Some of these kings, because you literally, from what the Bible says, you have the authority from God. They do not. There's nowhere in the Bible that gives them the authority for anything except one place that they have twisted, which is Peter handed the keys of the kingdom to us. Yeah, no, he didn't. The keys of the keys to the kingdom have not been handed to anybody yet. But that's the one line that they've used. One line. Everywhere else in the Bible makes it clear that you kings were given the authority by God. The Vatican sought authority over all kings primarily because of its belief in papal supremacy, the doctrine that the Pope, as the vicar of Christ, holds full, supreme, and universal power not only over the church, but also in matters that intersect with secular rule. Several factors contributed to this. The Pope was seen as the spiritual leader appointed by divine institution with authority over all Christians, including monarchs. What divine authority or what divine institution? None. They just said, yeah, Peter gave it to us. They never had any contact with Peter. They didn't. They made this shit up. It's unbelievable. The Pope was seen as the spiritual leader appointed by divine institution with authority over all Christians, including monarchs, because spiritual authority was considered superior to temporal authority. The Pope claimed supremacy. Nowhere in the Bible, nowhere. The kings have far more authority over all of it than any. God has raised up none of this, which is why its history is so bad, because God does not support it. Supremacy over kings and emperors. After the fall of the Western Roman Empire, the papacy became a source of continuity and authority in Christian Europe. Popes like Leo III asserting the right to crown emperors. Yeah, the popes have no authority whatsoever. Like, that's what I mean. You kings, you usurped the authority that God gave you. You gave to the Pope. Established that Pope Leo established that no emperor or king was legitimate without papal authority. Excuse me. Any king raised up, I mean, that isn't a Catholic monarchy, has been raised up by God. That's far more higher than your papal supremacy. Unbelievable. The arrogance. So claiming that unless the Pope agreed, it's not legitimate. Please, you don't want the Pope's blessing. Not if you want God's blessing. Symbolizing the Pope's overlordship. In the Middle Ages, conflicts such as the investiture controversy solidified further here, solidified these claims. Popes, notably Gregory VII, asserted the power to depose secular rulers who defied the church and claimed to be the ultimate authority. Unbelievable that people fell for this. Over spiritual and temporal matters, papal claims were built on theological and legal traditions, emphasizing that Christ gave Peter and his successors, the popes, supreme jurisdiction over the church universal. No, absolutely not true. None of it. As God is my witness, may he strike me dead if I'm wrong. None of that is true. None of it. Because it would be in the Bible and it is not. You claimed that you were the successor. No, you were not. You never had any contact with the disciple Peter, which extended into temporal affairs concerning Christian kingdoms. And I argue that this is exactly why Kennedy was not protected. He was bringing that damn papacy in, even though he told people he wouldn't. He lied all the time. Kennedys in general lie all the time anyway. But and that would be again, and you know, all of it really goes back to France. France being the one that influenced a lot of this, with people that exiled there or people that had traveled there. I mean, just look at, we had many of our founders that, you know, went during the French Revolution and came back enlightened. Yeah, well, that would be the problem right there. Is if you're getting enlightened by the papacy, big mistake. So that France seems to be where the home of that problem. I don't want to say it blows my mind that once you did get a hold of you had the Bible in English, it clearly shows that you kings, unless you're in a Catholic monarchy, and then again, God will just hand it over. He won't recognize it. He's not going to recognize a supreme being over him. And he appointed none of these people. Not even bishops. Not even bishops are over kings. I mean, bishops are talked about in the Bible, but they're never over a king. Never. I'm talking about because of what God says. That's what I'm saying. No, God says you kings are over all of that. Does it mean not to get, guidance? Yeah, but make sure you're getting guidance from people that aren't just telling you that you have to have our blessing and a false church. Why are you kings following a false church? What is wrong with you? Like, who in their right mind would... God has given you authority by the very fact that you're raised up as a king. That is, if you're not in a Catholic monarch. If you're in a Catholic monarchy, then the Holy See has raised you up and God doesn't recognize it. Which means if you'd like to get back with God and him recognize your kingship, if it's not totally illegitimate, then you may want to get away from the papacy. Yeah, because the Bible says that you already have the authority. It's unbelievable to me that that's shouldn't be. It's such a deceptive world, but then that's how you get the Holocaust. I mean, so that's the kind of power that the Vatican had over Germany, over France, over all of it. And look at what ended up happening. And once again, they don't take any ownership. They don't take any responsibility. That's a red flag. Jesus said, you will know them by their fruits. When their fruits is they knew about death camps. They have a systemic historical child abuse problem. They've lied about, they've been given no authority whatsoever. This is the reason they dress themselves up. Exactly why Jesus said they dress all fancy in their garb when he was talking about the Pharisees, because he said they want to look to others like they're holy. Yeah, Jesus knew it. You kings, you always had God gave you the authority, unless you're in a Catholic monarch. Then who knows if you're even a legitimate king. But the rest of you kings, you have the most authority.